we all got an uncle that didn't touch somebody. Like you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Or we got that older cousin that a wrestling match turned into something that we weren't really ready for.
Correct.
Right?
Been through it all, but we up. We done been through it all, but we here, man.
Okay, so hold that for a minute because you just mentioned your mom. How did your mom respond to that? And your dad?
Well, so my dad wasn't in my life.
Okay.
Beside the $20 a week child support, like that's what I knew of my dad, like growing up. I did meet him once, so that's actually an interesting story, but that's not that's neither here nor there right now. So my mom, she also, I think she saw it in me early on too.
Mm-hmm. Did she ever address it?
Yes. So I can remember her hitting me in my chest and saying something to the effect of, "I'm not raising no girls." And I grew up very early on remembering hearing my mom say that she prayed for her first child to be a boy.
And were you her first child?
I am the oldest of my mom's children.
Okay.
And so there was a weight of that. Once I understood like the male female differences and understood that I had an attraction for boys, for men, males, that I was different, that resonated for a very long time. And so her saying that was because her brother died when he was like 17 or 18. Which might have been 3 or 4 years before I was born. And so her wanting to have her first child be a boy was in an effort to give her mother her son back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's where,
but
I didn't understand that.
So
I didn't understand
that
So I didn't understand that until like years later after I had come out and was able to say to my mom, hey, here's part of the reason why I didn't tell you once I had the words to.
All right. So when your cousin jumped on you,
I was scared.
How did you move differently after that encounter with your cousin? Or did you move differently?
We're actually really close now. Actually very close. So I did shy away from him. I did try and hide it.
Okay.
But it's very interesting about families. It's kind of like one of those things like I can say whatever I want to say about my sister, but can't nobody. So it was that kind of thing because he also was the cousin that whenever my mouth couldn't back down from the thing, he was the one. He's the one. He was the one that stepped in and would protect and like did all of those things, but he still didn't like the softness that he saw in me. So in terms of moving differently, I knew not to do that again.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
They have this conversation and from a science perspective, meaning, you have some people say that, hey, I was born gay. You have some other people say, because like I said, we've had, conversations say that I made a choice. Mm-hmm. Do you feel, which one do you feel you are?
I do think that there is some biology. Mm-hmm. And I say that because there's a lot of homosexuality in my family. So
both male and
female. So in my mom's age group, mm-hmm. she has second cousins, both a male and a female, who are lesbian. Well, a lesbian and a gay cousin.
Okay.
In my generation, I had an older cousin who was 2 years older than me, who's gay.
Okay.
Um, and then he has a sister who she identifies as lesbian, so I'm gonna go with that. Although she was married to a man she was married to a man for a while, and so, but she identifies as a lesbian, so
Okay.
she's lesbian. And then, so in the generation after me, I have a first cousin once removed who's a lesbian.
Okay.
So, and my first cousin is actually my mom's twin sister's son.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So I do
Yeah.
think, like, from a biological standpoint, like, that's a lot. You know what I'm saying? Basically, 2 in every generation for
Yeah.
at least 3 generations.
So now you go, when you get to high school, we're not going to get to college yet. We're going to say high school. So when you get to high school, how are you moving? You know,
I came out in middle school.
oh, so you came out of middle school.
I came out, well, I'll say junior high school, because we were the last 9th grade class of a 7th, 8th, 9th junior high.
Okay.
Um,
Before 9th grade.
right, and went in
Okay.
10th grade.
Yeah.
So 9th grade was still not a part of the high school that I went to.
Okay.
So when I left that school, 10th grade was starting high school. So
Okay.
I actually came out in 9th grade in middle school.
Who was?
I was out. I was it.
Do you recall, like, who was the first person you told, like, you know?
Oh, I was in 6th grade then. The first person I told?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was in 6th grade.
that was in 6th grade.
Was it a family member or a friend?
It was a friend.
Okay.
It was a friend I came out to.
A dude or
female? Marissa Salocious.
Oh, so you remember?
I remember. I remember.
What was her response when you told her? Do you recall?
She was cool.
Yeah.
She was cool. You know. Yeah. My bad, dude. I forgot to put this on silent. Oh, this is my mama. Can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, mama. You're on speaker. So yeah, so I told Marissa in 6th grade.
6th grade. Okay.
And honestly, now having this conversation and thinking about it, like, I really didn't care. I care about her response. That's why I told her. I felt like it was going to be a safe space, but I also was testing the waters to see how it would.
See how other people would be.
Even though I knew, like, so she's a white girl.
Okay.
I knew how the Black community was, how they felt about it based on the experience and just being, coming from the Black community.
Correct.
So it was cool.
Do you feel like, okay, because I'm kind of jumping ahead with this, but you mentioned it. Do you feel like the response that comes from our community is based more so religion than anything?
Ignorance. More so. I think it's more out of ignorance. I think it is out of fear.
What does that mean? Because, like I said, now you got me jumping ahead because you mentioned the stuff, because when I hear the term homophobic, I'm not scared of gay people, so I don't even understand, like so when you say fear
in terms of, I think, the trauma that comes along with it. So I'm just going to touch on this, and I don't want to go too deep on it, but okay. I think our experience as a people with same-sex interactions goes back to buck breaking.
Okay.
So I think that, like, you learn real quick.
Correct.
Like, that ain't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But and there's trauma in that, right? And so you have centuries of that happening. Yeah. And so as a Black man, that's not what I want.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? That's not what I want. That's not what I want my sons to be doing. And so anything that reminds me of that trauma, is a fear. Yeah, I want to stamp it out as best as I can, right?
Okay. Well, I like the way you just you know what I mean, went into that.
Yeah, and so also I think that we all got an uncle that then touched somebody. Like, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Or we got that older cousin that a wrestling match turned into something that we weren't really ready for.
Correct.
Right. And so,
or auntie,
yeah. Yes. So I think with that, when same-sex interaction or any type of sexual interaction is forced upon a person, there's a trauma that comes with that.
Nah,
and so when you are at 5, 6 and you got that uncle that's, touching you inappropriately, you associate homosexuality with that negative experience. And so anytime you see it, it triggers that negative interaction. And so you respond accordingly. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot. And that's the ignorance and the fear that I'm talking about in terms of why our community responds so negatively. And again, I'm obviously painting us with a broad.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Brush. But I think it's out of those experiences that's why we have some of the views that we do have. I think the white man's religion that was thrust upon us also doesn't help, because that also is a tool to control. Right. And so
now you first heard somebody when you was in middle school. So now you, like you say, you're in high school, you all the way out. So you would say you're more of the flamboyant.
I was called a flamer.
A flamer.
So, but I also have to say this. So when I was about 14, was it 14? I'd say 13. 13, 14 was my first voluntary sexual experience, in the sense of I knew what I was doing. Like I could say, this is what I'm signing up for, going into it full-fledged. And at the time, my mother was dating a guy who I didn't like. So the other thing is, like, this ain't got nothing to do with that, but in the same vein that my mom was like, I want my first child to be a boy, she also preached, you're the man of the house.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So there was a lot of that. So now I never really gelled well, and I actually regret not gelling well with the men that my mom chose to date. Because again, from the time I could remember, I'm the man of the house. So then, who are you? So
you really ain't even got the respect,
right? Yeah. Like, so who you? Yeah. So the point I'm making, she was dating this guy, and I told you my mouth is ridiculous. You tell me one thing, I'm gonna tell. So he wanted me to clean up the kitchen, and I was like, well, I will. I'm doing homework or something. He was like, no, I need you to go do it now.
Yeah.
I said I'm gonna do it in a minute. He was like, no, you're going to do it now and don't say another thing. I'm not going back and forth with you. I said, well, this is my mouth and I'm going to keep running it, whatever. He said, if you say something else, I'm going to put you through this window. And so we lived in a shotgun. Wow. We lived in a shotgun house, and 1908 LaSalle, and it was on stilts. And so we're in this flex space, like what most people call a den. And so he said, say one more thing, I'm gonna put you through this window. So I said a couple more things. And so he proceeded to put me through the window. And when I say put me through the window, I do want to clarify, yes, it was traumatic, and probably in the days I should have called 911 and called but that's not what we did. It was not a glass window. The window was up, the screen, so he really put me through the screen.
Okay.
And there was a palmetto tree down. So, but I got scraped up, and again, being a man and true to his word, like, and he was, definitely traditional and old school. And if I'm gonna say a thing, I'm gonna put you through the window. I gotta be willing to. I mean that. And so he put me through the window, and so I was like, oh, okay. So I left home.
Been through it all, but we up. We done been through it all, but we here, man. Been through it all, but we up. We done been